The Wisdom app can be really helpful when it comes to social media. At least that's what I got told. So I was like, okay, so what does Wisdom do? So a few things were said to me. One, which is, well, actually, you get really good at speaking because, well, that's basically what you do when you are using Wisdom. You are talking into the microphone, into the app. Second of all, that's what I read. It's really easy to use it for your own podcast, which I totally agree with. And then, of course, the third thing is that and that's something I came up with. It provides me with inspiration. So far, I've actually answered like 6 questions, maybe 7. I got asked 3 questions. I still need to answer 2 of those. And I have to say, I really like the concept. So one of the people I know from different platform is Ida. I know her from Movement Makers. Movement Makers is a sort of like a family. It's training by Evan Carmichael, the YouTube expert. And she saw me on Wisdom and she said, "Oh, that's something for you." So the one who referred me to Wisdom is actually Terry. And Terry is also part of the Movement Maker family. So all of us, we tend to go on Instagram. So Evan Carmichael, he has a challenge going on every month. And he tries to get us to work together. He calls that collaborations. And so he wants us to do 2 things. One is get long form content on YouTube. Well, if I think about Wisdom, then it's going to be a little bit of a problem to post things on YouTube simply because there's no video. And well, that's going to be a bit boring. But like we said, it's going to be awesome when it comes to podcasts. So usually when I want to use stuff for my podcast, I either am going live on Instagram directly and then I convert it from Instagram to to a horizontal format, or I go to StreamYard Live, and StreamYard gives me the possibility to actually go live both on Facebook and YouTube Live. Well, the advantage of that one is I don't have to edit anything except for maybe the last 10 seconds, possibly 20, where I refer to the next video. So the good thing about Evan is that he actually told us to start with a statement. And I do believe that when I'm using Wisdom, that it's okay, or no, it's not just okay. It's good to actually use that statement and stay in that flow, use that same structure. So before I actually started this live, I was like, okay, so what do I want to talk about? Yes, we have a title. And then I was like, okay, but I do want the 3 statements. Well, you heard them. One was, okay, it's good to learn to talk. The second one is I can use it for my podcast. And the third one was I can use it as inspiration. Now, here's the thing. What I didn't know was whether or not I could save this. So when Ida was looking at it, she actually had this option to save it high quality, to use it on podcast. And then I looked at my settings and there was no such thing. Now, there can be 2 reasons for it. One, I'm a beginner. Ida has done it longer than I have. And the second one is because I'm in the different area. And I've noticed that things are very different according to where your location is. Just like, for instance, with Instagram, nowadays you have this broadcast function. Well, we don't have it, but Ida does, Terry does. They are um, respectively in Canada and in the US. And I am in Europe, I'm in the Netherlands. So that's a whole different ballgame. Anyway, when it comes to social media, I do believe that wisdom can actually make a lot of difference. And I wonder how many people actually have invited other people to actually go to wisdom and join them on lives and then use it for podcasts. So I'm really curious about that, and I might post that as a question somewhere. So the other thing is that I wonder how many people actually have posted their questions on a social media platform. So actually I thought it was really cool that we can save certain things. And so I did. And I actually posted it straight away on Instagram, and then I added it to my story. And actually, I went one step further. So yesterday, I saw one of those questions. I thought that was pretty cool. And what I did was I recorded, of course, my answer, or the answer was recorded. That is the one thing that I could save. But then I listened to what someone else said to that same question. And I was like, hey, but I don't totally agree. The guy was basically underselling himself. He was selling himself short. And I was like, you deserve way more credit than you're giving yourself right now. So let's change that. So I left a comment, and I realized I couldn't save the comment. And then I got a comment back, and it was so sweet. It was heartwarming. And it was like, I want to post that on social media. I want to see people the power of this platform. I mean, there was this question. I answered it. Someone else answered it. And then, so what I did was I went to Zoom. I used the share screen, and then you actually could see the question. You could hear his answer. Then you could hear my comment, and then his comment. And then, of course, I looked for him on Instagram, and I said, are you okay with me sharing this? And I also tagged him as a collaborator. And yes, it was okay. And then when I put it on Instagram, I pimped it a little bit with, some cool symbols here and there, some words, because then it's always a little bit nicer. I also actually used a edit program, InShot, so I could not only use little symbols and colors, but I also could edit music underneath. And the cool thing about InShot is I do not have to worry about copyright on music. So I don't know how other people do these kind of things, because music and copyright, for me, that's a little bit of a headache. So whenever I am, say for instance, in a Starbucks or wherever, so one of the questions was, where are you when you get creative? And well, usually I am, say, in a restaurant or wherever I can get a latte or some good food. And the downside to it is they usually play music in the background. So sometimes I might actually ask them to turn it down a little bit, but I'm still looking for a way, a microphone or something else that actually shuts out that music so people can only hear my voice. Because what does YouTube do? They turn it down. What does Facebook do? They turn it down. So we don't want that. At least I don't want that. I don't know about you, but so, and that's why I love the InShot app. By the way, I think Ida was also the one who suggested that InShot app to me. So I have to say kudos to her, because she comes up with all these new cool things. And I'm so happy because I've been using it ever since she said, go use InShot. Well, she said it a little bit differently, but well, you know what I'm getting at. And it's so easy to reuse certain footage and just edit it any way you want it. So what I noticed on Instagram was actually when I was using music on there is they offer you music. You can put it underneath a video, and then before you know it, it's like, no, you're not allowed to use it, and then it's crickets. And I'm like, if you don't want me to use it, then why show it? Why give me the opportunity to actually put it underneath? So yeah, that's the whole thing when it comes to music and all those things. um, I like it copyright free. Now, there's also another thing that I've been thinking about, and I believe that either YouTube or Instagram talks about it. I'm not entirely sure, but they talk about some sort of partnership, and it's related to using your own content, actually. So I'm getting these messages right now which says action taker. So that's pretty cool. But getting back to, oh my god, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, um content that's original, so my own content. I i have i don't know if I can say I've learned it down the line, but at some point I was like, you know, if I want to create a video, there's an image in my head. I want it to be on that video, like I'm imagining it. And yes, I can look for certain footage that I can use. But quite honestly, when there's this story out there, you know, about a certain person who has done something, or a wonder baby, or whatever it is, you know, those miraculous stories. And then someone gets into that story, and then they start sharing images which are not linked to that person at all, and they're just linked to that story. And I don't know about you, but it annoys me immensely. I'm sorry, maybe I'm prejudiced in some way, maybe I'm not, but it just annoys me to see it because it's not relevant for that story. When I am watching something, then I want the real deal. So yeah, I'm someone who loves creating original content. And of course, then we get back to the whole topic of, but what if you have music underneath, for instance, or if you quote other people? Anyway, um, these were my 2 cents about social media and why to use wisdom as a social media tool. And again, this is my second night on wisdom. So yesterday I answered the questions for the first time, which meant asking myself questions. And well, today, so second night, I'm actually doing a live, and I think it's pretty cool. I can see people are watching, so that's a good thing. But you know, I would love to have guests join me, but then they say as guests to join, so I can click on there. But well, I suppose that I have to ask people in advance to join, which I think is a little crazy. But yeah, I'm used to Instagram. So on Instagram, when you go live, you can actually see who are watching along, and then you can select the person and invite them to join, which makes more sense to me because I have no clue who to ask to join me right now as a guest, because where do I go to to invite them? But anyway, I love the idea of having guests on there. There's no such thing as doing a live with someone. It creates such a different energy. And you know, it's like people say, when you are on the stage and you are sharing a story, when does it work? It works when people give you the energy. And I've been a trainer for a couple of years. Um, that was as in a full-time trainer. And the first thing I actually learned was to generate that energy and to get other people going. So when I actually got told, when you're a speaker on stage and you live and get energized by the energy of what's going on in the room, it made far more sense. So yes, of course, it starts which one me giving energy, and then hopefully others picking up on it and becoming enthusiastic and then saying, hey, yes, we want you to go on, go um, yeah, which reminds me of a story on the bridge near Excel in London. That's a building where Tony Robbins was. It's actually a true story. So we were I wanted to go to Starbucks, and what most of you don't know was I don't walk very well. So when Tony Robbins was there in London, the first thing I did was I went looking for a wheelchair. Well, they had all sizes wheelchairs. There are normal ones, small ones, big ones. And I was like, yeah, but now I need to go across the entire hallway. And it's like, I don't know how many supermarkets combined. It's huge. And it was like, yeah, I can't do that. So they say, well, you need to look for the people in black shirts. So I looked for people in black shirts and I said, can you help me get to the hallway? Which of course was on the other side of the hallway, completely at the end. And there were 13,000 people in there. So you get a little bit of an idea how it worked. Anyway, at some point there was someone and I said, well, I would like to go to Starbucks. So those who know me know I'm a huge fan of Starbucks. Started something somewhere in Florida. I found out that they had a vanilla latte and I was sold. Anyway, getting back to London, I wanted to go to that Starbucks. So one of the people in a black shirt said, I am going to help you out. And then he looked at that bridge, he looked at me, and he said, do you know what I want to do? I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to run across that Excel bridge, pushing you in a wheelchair. And then, well, I'm a little crazy. So I'm going to uh, take the phone a little bit away because I'm going to make some noise. So what I said literally was, okay, you go for it. And then I started encouraging him. So I said, go, 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 go. It was so funny because people were laughing and they were clapping, especially when we got back again, because they could see me still encouraging him. And, so many people they really applauded him, so it felt really good. And I actually have a little video because I recorded a little video of what was happening from me being inside that wheelchair. Lots of other stuff have happened too, but those are the little things that I love to share. I love to encourage and inspire people, and sometimes just tell people, yeah, that's me. I'm a little bit crazy every now and then. But anyway, if you want to see, and because you're curious or you don't really believe me, then just go to Lady Lexi Speaks Up and just check it out because it actually happened. And I still see that face up till that day because he was like, yeah, but I'm not supposed to do it. And I'm like, well, why not? I mean, if you feel like it, you're not hurting anyone or harming anyone. And that's why it was so cool that all these people were applauding for the guy. I think he did really well. Anyway, I hope that somehow, some way, I can get some comments from you. Do you like this sort of life? How do you use wisdom as a social media tool? So I well, like I said, so let me repeat it for the ones who weren't there at the beginning. It's a good way to practice talking. It's something you can use for a podcast. Of course, then I need to talk longer than I'm doing right now, although I have no clue how long I'm talking right now because it doesn't show. And because, oh my God, what was the third thing? Oh, yeah, because I get inspired and I get all these ideas for other stuff. Well, you already heard me go all over the place, from actually linking it to Instagram to also talking about Evan Carmichael, our YouTube expert, Ida, who's listening in, Terry, who made me join this app. So, yeah. And then I ended up talking about Tony Robbins in London for 13,000 people. And by the way, that was the one cool thing about being in the wheelchair. I actually ended up on the sideline and I could see him up close and personal. So I don't advise anyone to get hurt or whatever it is, but I have to say, if you are ending up, with some sort of physical, well, whatever it is, in my case, I use crutches. Didn't have to use crutches for a year and a half because I use braces, but I'm back on crutches, alas. Then, well, there are some upsides to it too. Yeah, I'll honestly say there are upsides to it too. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm closing down my first live here. I want to say my first podcast. It's not my first podcast because when you go to the podcast on Apple or Spotify or whatever it is, you can find me too over there. Lady Lexi Speaks Up. Uh, but it's my first live here on Wisdom, and I thought that was pretty cool. So thank you for listening in, and I'm looking forward to your answers when it comes to wisdom as a social media tool.